Hey everybody, it's Dr. Mosley. Today I have from clear across the pond with me, James. And James, do you mind introducing yourself and what music means to you?
Hello, sure. Yeah. So I'm James Sedge. I'm a drummer and an educator. Um, I my kind of main gig is playing for a guy called Matt Berry, who's he's a TV comedian, actor, musician. He's everything really. He's a very talented guy. We've just done an album called Milkbone of instrumental music based on the kind of jazz fusion from the 1970s, which is a kind of guilty pleasure of ours. And I'm fascinated in music, travel, and those connections. Like, for instance, I meant to say, Matt, I used to run a degree course for the University of Kent, and part of the course for their third year of their degree, their BA Honours top up, as it's called here, we would take them to New Orleans um, as a field trip. So we based our whole degree around travel and music, really. So it was 3 years of training as popular musicians. So they would learn progressive rock, blues. They'd have to make an album of original material.
Really, that's awesome.
And for their third year, we went for 2 weeks to New Orleans. We did it 3 times before I had a complete nervous breakdown about taking 20 young people to New Orleans.
Yeah, to the original Sin City of the US. Yeah, no,
I don't know what I was thinking. Some of these.
But New Orleans is such a musical city. It makes so much sense.
Oh, well, we became obsessed with it. My partner and I think we went 6 times over about 8 years. And we were going to the French Quarter Festival to start. And that is a great place for music tourism because it's a free festival. I think, I'm not sure of the numbers now, it's been a while, but I think something like 4 million people would come into town for that weekend. And there were 25 stages dotted across the city. And it was just so much fun and inspirational. Food was there, all the local vendors, the local musicians, the amount of work that generated, and good feeling, goodwill.
Yeah.
New Orleans, I think, has really, well, they've got a festival every week, haven't they? You know, they got a strawberry festival, they got a Satchmo festival, they've got crawfish festival. You know, name anything, they've got a festival, but it brings everyone in. Yeah. And I think other cities are really missing out on what they're doing. They don't always get it right, because I know lots of the local musicians, so having been there many times, and they're always, the local city council is always trying to shut things down and noise complaints. But that's why we were there, because of the noise.
Oh, and what's funny is that New Orleans didn't always really embrace their musical heritage and uniqueness. And it wasn't until like the 60s or 70s where they went, oh, we can make money off this. And you're right. Yeah. I mean, you traveled a longer distance than most, right? But when you're there, you're staying in a hotel, you're eating out, you're buying stuff, you're the money that you spend ripples out throughout the whole community and the state, for that matter. I hope you never went in July, because oh my God,
I made that mistake once.
Oh, I did that this last year. I'm not even gonna lie, James. I regretted every minute of it. I was just sitting there like, and I live in Southeast Georgia, and I think, oh, it's hot here. It's a whole nother level.
Well, coming from England, the shock to the system was so extreme. I remember, I know the city quite well now, and we really wanted to go to Armstrong Park, to Congo Square, to see where the music I love was born.
Yeah.
It's a pilgrimage.
Yeah.
But you know what? The first time I didn't make it. It was so hot that I just couldn't get there. And we kept having to go in. Well, this was quite a nice thing. Had to keep going into air-conditioned bars. And in the end, we didn't. It was great, but we
like,
didn't.
yeah,
We
they
didn't
got
see
really
much.
great.
I remember speaking to the locals saying, "So you guys get used to it," and they say, "No, we leave city. We leave the city if we can afford it. In July, August, we go." So after that, I started going in April,
Oh, much
March,
better, much better. Yeah.
and it was still hotter than it ever gets here in England. But yeah, so we've done that quite a few times with the students, and that was a real eye opener for them.
Yeah.
Most of them didn't have a passport before, and so then we take them from a sleepy small town in Kent. Do you know, some of our students hadn't even spoken to someone of colour.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
This is such a white area.
Yeah.
Um, and they got they got off the plane, and I had to say to them, "You have to stop staring at everyone.
Yeah.
You got to be cool here." It's and they got with it, and we volunteered, and we did work after Katrina, the cleanup.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
And we planted trees in the city park. We did all sorts of things. So we got very obsessed with music tourism there. But I've always travelled really quite a bit. As I said to you earlier, my first musical trip in 1987 was to Paris to see Genesis. And
that's like peak, like the trio Genesis there too.
Yeah, it was.
You're seeing them like top of their game.
They were pretty good there. I couldn't get tickets in England, and this is pre-internet. I still don't remember how I did it.
No, because we used to have to line up here in the States. I would have to line up at a grocery store.
Yeah.
And like hope that there was a ticket available when I got to the front of the line. You didn't know where you're going to sit. And
no.
You didn't care. You just celebrated. You're like, oh my God, I got a ticket.
I've got a ticket. Yeah. It was like that here. So I don't quite know how I did it. But we ended up in Paris, seeing Genesis, and it was brilliant. And then I started a career as a musician and started playing gigs, mainly in the UK. So it was 10 years before I did it again. But I saw Radiohead at Glastonbury in '97, and it just blew me away.
Again, peak Radiohead.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, they're still fantastic, but I mean, '97, they were on their game.
They did the Bends and OK Computer, and I was completely floored. So I saw they were playing in Paris the following week. Yeah. So, the Eurotunnel had opened, through the tunnel into Paris, and I just thought, wow, Europe is right on our doorstep.
Yeah.
So I started to think more about traveling to see gigs. So now we go to Spain normally once a year, pre-pandemic anyway.
Yeah.
To the San Sebastian Jazz Festival.
Oh, fantastic.
And San Sebastian is if you look up San Sebastian food, you will see that most bloggers say best food in the world.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And then there's a jazz festival. So we saw Chick Corea and John Scofield. All the great American jazz artists come to Europe for the summer.
Yeah.
I didn't realize really until I started to do the festival route. And then you can see their route all the way through Spain into Italy, across France. There's a big one in Antibes in southern France. So we started to do that. And I'm trying to think where else we've been. Italy to see all sorts of things in Italy. It's so much, we got rather obsessed with travelling, because I did find that the European audiences were better than the UK and better than the US.
That is not a lie. I mean, now you want to see an audience, South America.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't done that yet. They are insane. It's like, really? This music, you can sing along to every damn word? I'm just like, I don't know, I get half of them right, and they're jumping, and it's just the vibe, and the whole like communal experience is just insane. But I've heard that about Europe too. Like,
and if the music is quiet, the audience are quiet.
Yeah.
It's very respectful. And I remember the first time I went to New Orleans, the bands were saying off the stage, please respect the musicians. And I kept thinking, why do they keep saying that? What do you mean? Of course we respect the musicians. And then I realised everyone's talking. So it was a real shock. I remember seeing a piano player called Dr. John at a venue called Tipitina's.
Yeah.
It's like a dream come true.
People should be hanging on to every note being played.
Well, barely heard a note. Everyone was just chatting and doing selfies. So they kind of put me off. So that's why we started going into Europe a bit more. The last time we were in Spain, I remember seeing there's an amazing guitar player, jazz player called Julian Lage, and he's like a new John Scofield, kind of really, really sophisticated guy. He was on at midnight, by the sea, free concert, and there were families out. There were children. Everyone's drinking wine.
Wow.
Midnight. It was hot, and we all just sat there silently, watching world-class jazz.
Yeah.
On the beach. It was. I just thought, wow, why am I in the UK? This is better. It's really good. So it's a real eye-opener as well, because when you travel, you realise that other countries have got it right. And
sometimes
it's
the grass
inspiring.
does feel greener. I mean, like, I even look at like the UK audiences and think they're better than the US audiences. But like,
sometimes
if you go to Detroit, like I lived up in the Detroit area, they have a great rock audience.
Really? Right.
I don't know why. I mean, it is Detroit Rock City, but when I went to concerts up there, like the vibe is different. But if I go to a show and somebody's just having like a coffee shop conversation behind me,
oh God,
you know, like
I know, I'm a bit obsessive. So please, I actually plead with people sometimes.
Yeah.
So I don't want any aggravations. I was like, please, can you just bring it down so we can all
or go to the back.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
I was watching this band the other month, and they were a rock band, but they had a slow song where the singer got their acoustic guitar out, and they're doing a very beautiful song, but people just started talking to each other and everything, and I'm just sitting there like,
please,
and I'm sitting there, I'm trying to enjoy the moment because I never saw them before, and I was like, guys,
it can spoil the moment.
Yeah, like you only get one shot at seeing some of these bands. Live in the moment,
I do find America seems to get, from a UK perspective, they get the tourism thing in a lot of cities really much more than we do in the UK. So, when we went to Chicago, it felt easy to find Buddy Guy's place, and we did a blues tour. We went into Mississippi, and we ended up in a juke joint in Jackson, and we were told by a number of people we must not go there. You must not go there. You will be killed if you go there.
Were these locals that were trying to tell?
Yeah, the locals were saying you mustn't go there. It's dangerous. It's the wrong side of town. But we've been told by other people you'll be fine. So we turned up, and I'd hired a really nice car. It was a Pontiac something or other, and all these guys outside of this shack started walking around the car as we sat in it, and I thought, what have we done? And so we got out. I said, we've got to get out. And everyone partied, and we went in and got a beer, sat there, and someone realised I played drums. So I got up on stage and played with the house band.
Oh, wow.
And everything was it was like a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
We went from sitting at the back with people looking at us like, what are these guys doing?
The record screeching.
And by the end of it, we didn't, I had to keep refusing drinks because I was driving. It's like, no, really, I can't. Give it to someone else. And it was the best experience. So my students, I always say, if you learn an instrument and you travel,
Yeah.
There was a big language barrier as well. No one could understand what I was saying. It
Yeah.
was, that kind of deep South.
Well, you probably,
That's
I
why
mean, I have trouble understanding some of the people in the deep South too. So I get it.
they couldn't. I remember saying at the bar, "Can I have a Budweiser, please?" And the guy just looked at me completely blank. And then he called someone over. What's this guy saying? I could hear him say, "What's this guy saying?" And I said, "Can I have a Budweiser, please?" And the other guy was shaking his head, and I thought, "Oh, this is going wrong." And in the end, I said, "Bud," and he went, "Bud, yeah, man." Oh, and then everyone
Oh,
laughed.
they probably weren't used to the please part.
So that was, and I'll tell you another one. We went to Cuba, and we sat in with a Cuban band, which was the most
Oh,
terrifying thing I've ever experienced, because they are the best musicians I've seen anywhere in the world.
yeah.
I mean, I know you guys probably can't go there at the moment, can you? Again?
Um, well, the restrictions got lifted. We just had to fly to Canada first.
Yeah,
I
please
mean,
go. Oh, Havana and the jazz clubs, and it's the most exciting thing. Absolutely astounding. Children playing better than I could dream of. So
it's
another
your
music
DNA. It's
tourism. That's
amazing.
why we went to Cuba, for the music. I
Yeah,
didn't go
so,
there for the sun. It
yeah.
was the music.
So you're a lot like me then. Pretty much like, I went to Dublin. I had to go see Phil
Yeah.
Lynott statue.
Oh
I
yeah,
had to, and
yeah,
of course I'm sitting there and I'm like, Vicker Street, oh,
yeah.
here, like, it's like I got to. And my wife's just like, okay.
We're
Like,
the same. We're the same. We went to Berlin, and we had to stand outside of Hansa Studios, where David Bowie recorded
yes.
3 albums.
Well,
And we just
and
stood there
Iggy
like
Pop
idiots.
and Iggy
Yeah,
Pop. Come on
yeah,
now.
of course. Yeah.
The Ziggy and Iggy time, man, of Berlin. The Berlin sessions are just infamous. But
Uh, we were
I,
so sad. We even played the music out loud as we stood outside. And I thought, I'm a 50-year-old man standing outside of a recording studio.
it's
But
okay. I mean,
it meant something to me.
how many of those people are ever going to see you again? And who cares?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's like, no, this is for me. And well, now with the way headphones are, you can have your own little concert outside,
Yeah,
be lost in the moment, just let it soak in.
yeah, yeah. So that's our whole kind of thing, is food and music. So if the food's good and the music's good, and we can combine the two.
Yeah, get some currywurst and
Yeah.
just
Oh, and we went
yeah,
to Budapest last year as well, or the year before, and did some gigs. And it was just so fantastic. Everyone treated us so well.
yeah.
It was very cold, colder than anywhere I've ever been.
But
But
sometimes the coldest places have the most hospitality.
yeah, they sure do.
It's like, well, we're going to be stuck inside together. We might as well be nice.
And they're just pleased that someone's come as well. I mean, I always find that about tourism. Normally people are just delighted that you're there,
Yeah.
and all the barriers, the language barriers, can go. It can be tricky. I don't speak Spanish or German, but
Yeah.
normally you can, with a lot of smiling and a
Well,
bit of charm.
I think you hit something there. Music transcends all that stuff, the language barriers. I was listening to YouTube. I'll put it on while I'm working. I'm sure you're used to doing like music's in the background.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I realized I was listening to a 3-hour block of Japanese 70s jazz.
Oh, nice.
Oh my goodness, it was amazing. I mean, well, there was no singing, but it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't know better, it didn't matter what the country is from. It was just amazing music, and it was like, all right, anywhere you go, the rhythm hits. It doesn't matter anymore that you don't understand what they're singing about, because
Yeah.
it's the feeling that it gives you that matters more.
And people in Europe, they obviously grow up watching American movies, so most people have a grasp of the English language.
Yeah.
And the American artists that I see, all the greats in Europe, not in the UK quite often, and that they communicate quite well and have a great time. And when I've played out there with my bands, you get treated very, very well. There's baskets of food and there's flowers backstage, and you think, wow,
All right.
just us, you know. It's really cool. So
Guys, do you think this is for us? Huh.
yeah, exactly. You know, this must be for the next band. You know, don't touch it yet. You know.
Just in
So
case.
so yeah. So does that answer any of your questions? Well, I probably just blathered on over it all. So.
No, no, no. You really hit on, and I didn't even have to get to asking the question about when you travel, because I mean that's what you do. Music pulls you. Whether it's, I'm sure while you go do gigs, you probably go, oh well, this was done here, so you're playing a show in Berlin. Might as well go to the studio. Might as well go here. Might as well go there. Check it out. Like, oh yeah, I'm right along this section where they held the concert while the wall was being torn down,
Yeah,
that type of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. We did all of that actually. It was so exciting, you know, because you're part of history. You know,
Yeah.
you feel it there, and I did a gig in Latvia a few years back, and you know that's just coming out of communism, and it's a hard place. The people, you can tell they're only just coming out of some authoritarian regime. And
Yeah.
it's fascinating being there playing music.
Not quite sure how to react to what they're
Yeah,
feeling from you playing.
yeah.
Uh,
It was very different than anywhere else I've played.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a great privilege to be able to go to these places, and sometimes people pay for me to go there, which is even better.
I mean, is there a better way to travel than get paid to go somewhere? That's why I sign up for conferences. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, so I'm
yeah.
gonna
I'll do that. I
yes,
don't get that anymore.
yes, I'll go talk there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just pay my flight, and I'll be there.
Pretty much, like, thank you. Um, there was one last question that I was going to talk about, and it's kind of how you think that music helps create a destination's identity. And we hit on this a little bit, but I mean, it where you're at, even the UK, there's so many places, and we talked about how they don't really capitalize off it, but the
Yeah,
place really helped shape the music that came out of there. And
yeah,
now the
yeah,
music has helped shaping the place. So what do you think about all that?
yeah. I think people. The trouble is, people in charge, in you know, the politicians and the council people and the mayors, they're often not really connected to the culture, or they have a very outdated. This is my personal view. You know, they
Yeah.
have a very outdated view of culture. So in UK, people seem to think classical music should still be promoted, and
And it should, but
yeah, I mean, what about the last 100 years? Let's go back to the 1950s, or the 1960s. In Kent, for instance, where I am, 20 miles from here is a place called Bromley, on the outskirts of London,
yeah.
where punk started.
Oh yeah.
So Bowie was born there. Susie and the Banshees, the Sex Pistols. 30 miles from here in Canterbury, progressive rock started with bands like Caravan and Gong and Steve Hillage.
Yeah.
We were going to have some trips, some reciprocated trips with US students from New Orleans. It didn't happen in the end for various reasons, but they wanted to come and see where they wanted to go to London, where the Stones
Yeah.
were, but
Go hit
not
the
enough
Cavern
is
Club.
done.
Go hit, all these places. Yeah.
A lot of the places have been torn down. All the old venues. I used to go to a club called the Marquee Club a lot.
I have records that were bootlegs from the Marquee Club. So yes.
It was the best venue. I used to go there in the 80s, and I saw all sorts of things. Amazing bands there,
Yeah.
progressive rock bands and jazz. Not so much jazz at that time, but it's a restaurant now.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I see people standing outside the restaurant sometimes thinking, is this where the market? There's no sign of it. There's not even a plaque on the wall.
and how hard would it be to have a plaque?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Hendrix
CBGB's,
played there.
yeah, yeah. CBGB's is a boutique shop.
Yeah. When I was in New York, I couldn't find it.
Yeah, because it's like a high-end clothing store now.
And I wanted to find the Chelsea Hotel,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
couldn't. I kept walking up and down the road for about 20 minutes, thinking, well, the map says it's. I'm just looking up at these buildings, thinking, I don't know. I don't know which one it is.
Well, and
And
how much did that singular hotel influence music for
yeah,
a generation?
yeah.
Like, it's yeah. I
But
mean,
when they get it right, it's fantastic. So New Orleans gets it right on the whole, and their whole community is based around music. It's a bit outdated, people's view of it. People still think it's jazz. Oh,
yeah,
that's the home of jazz. Yeah, but it's also the home of funk.
yeah.
The
Well,
meters and
yeah. I mean, even here, the South, it's like, oh, okay, just Southern rock. Yes, but the hip hop that's coming out of Atlanta
yeah,
is changing stuff. I mean, Nashville isn't just country anymore. It you can't just be stuck in one area. Yeah, it's important to embrace that.
yeah,
But you're right. The local leaders might just think, oh, well, classical music. It's like, I had a student talking about Harry Styles
yeah,
when that and he doesn't he come from the same city as the Oasis brothers?
yeah. I think it's probably Manchester, isn't it? I think, yeah,
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm sitting there and she goes the city, and I'm like, oh yeah. The Oasis guys are from there, but she doesn't even mention them at all. She's like, well, and I want to go to the bakery that he worked at, and I'm just sitting there going, oh yeah, it's right. I got to remember that it's
yeah,
not just the stuff that I care about.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah. You're right.
and if you're in an area, it's like, I don't care what people like. If they like it and they want to come for it, I'm going to be happy for them. Like, yes, here, right here. There's a
Yeah,
plaque. Here's a walking
isn't that
thing.
cool?
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
know
I
what?
think
Here's a
I think
Harry.
Liverpool get it right in the UK. Liverpool have a Beatles museum, and they knocked down the Cavern Club, and they've recreated it now, brick by brick.
Yeah, they
No one
realized
really
they
knows
messed up.
it's not really the real one, but they don't actually tell anyone that. But it's close enough. It's in the same street, I think. But I think they do well in Liverpool. I think local people go, "Oh, the Beatles again." But if I go to Liverpool, I want to go where the Beatles were.
Well, and I mean, that's where the whole disconnect comes in, that if you don't manage it, it can really impact the residents in a negative fashion.
Yeah,
But if you
yeah,
show the
sure.
residents, like, all that stuff that we added that you enjoy, that's
Yeah,
because the people coming here for something you don't care about anymore. Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Absolutely right.
it took Birmingham until what, 2000 to even recognize Black Sabbath and their
I know.
contribution. Like, guys,
Yeah, Black
you know,
Sabbath have always been kind of dismissed, and it infuriates me because they started a whole genre of music. And what could be more important than that? As a musician, if you start a new style of music,
yeah.
that is the ultimate.
Well,
And it's only recently they've started to get more accepted.
like, oh crap, Ozzy's gonna die soon. We should probably
Yeah,
do something, like maybe do it while he's still vibrant so he can come back and celebrate, you know?
yeah, yeah. And Birmingham, the Move, ELO.
Oh yeah.
Who else was Birmingham? There's quite a few bands. I've gone blank now, but
But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like one band makes it from there, and all of a sudden it's like Seattle. I mean, Jimmy was from Seattle, Jimi Hendrix. But when the 90s and grunge hit, it's like, oh, all of a sudden you get all these bands coming out of there, and it's really amazing. Why, hello.
oh, this is
Hello.
Julie, my partner.
I
Hi,
thought I'd come
Julie.
and say hello.
Hi, I'm Matt.
I've heard James's side of it from downstairs.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
We're the ones that travel everywhere together.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm so
Yeah.
happy that you let him enjoy doing that. My wife is very saint-like for putting up with my travel desires.
Oh no, I absolutely love it. This is a travel habit. This is Aperol Spritz.
Oh, nice.
Oh, discovered in Sardinia. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh.
every day in Sardinia at 6 o'clock, they all have an Aperol spritz. And I still do now every day, 3 years later.
You got to keep it alive.
It was the same colour as the beautiful sunset over the sea.
Oh,
And so it makes me feel like I'm on holiday.
well, especially right now. Holding on to anything that makes you feel like you're on holidays.